Welcome to Radio Fixer's channel. Subscribe for upcoming videos. And this is a final video for this radio. At one point, I honestly wasn't sure it could be saved, but walking away was never an option for me. I enjoy a good challenge, of course, and this one pushed every limit that you can imagine. In this episode, I am recreating the Arvin logo for the center of the cabinet, creating a new knobs for the radio, fabricating the missing heat shield for the back of the chassis, repairing the battery tray, reassembling the radio, and of course testing the radio to see how it's performing. Enjoy the video. And to make your job easier to find all these videos per category, select playlist, and each categories are located right here. Also, I have added every tool product that I'm using in the description section of the video, so feel free to check it out. I remember when I had my first 50 subscribers, I told my wife, I said, guess what? I have 50 subscribers. She paused a little bit and said, how many people live around the world? I said, gee, I see. So folks, what you want to do, somewhere in the bottom there's a subscription button. Go ahead and select that, and also there's a bell. Select that bell so it notify you whenever I upload new video. Put your thumb up. What this does, it notify other people they enjoy this hobby. Go ahead and share it to other people. Help me if my subscription goes up, man. Make me look good. All right? I appreciate you. I highly recommend watching the earlier videos in this series. In those episodes, we disassemble the radio, inspect the electrical fire damage, document and identify parts on the schematics, replace paper capacitor and out of tolerance resistors, repair the multi-section electrolytic capacitor and install new polarized power cord, replace the selenium rectifier with a high voltage diode, identified and installed the proper high wattage resistor to ensure correct operating temperature and voltage, repair damaged speaker, and also repair the cabinet, which is made with polystyrene, an early petroleum-based plastic commonly used in 1950s radio. Let's get started. What I did, I researched online and I found a couple of pictures of this radio and the logo that it had in the center. Of course, it's pretty hard to see, but I tried to create something close to that. Let me show you what I did. First, I create a bunch of different sizes of that logo as close as I could. So then what I did, I cut one of them that I thought that is going to work best for it. Tested right here to see if it fit or not. Then what I did the next stage, now I knew exactly what size I need, right? I got a yellow paper, something I felt close to what the original was. This is cut. This goes in the center. I went to recycling bin. I find a lead like this, clear lead like this, and I cut a piece, as you can tell right here, I cut a piece out. The way I did it is pretty simple, of course. I use this to draw the circle, the size that I need, like that. Then I actually cut it that size. Then in the back, I add a tape like this. You see a tape? See, then I put it right here. That is how I cut this. Just want to show you the process that I took to create this. And then this plastic goes right on top of it like that. Alright, so let's install it now in the radio. I think it looks good. What do you think? It's as close as original as possible. Alright, see, I installed this. As you can see, it looks pretty nice. Next, I'm gonna just put glue all around here, just a little bit, then install this clear plastic over it. So let me work on that. This is the glue I'm gonna use. The reason I'm using this, when it dry, it's totally clear. You see, I add here to the edge, not to the radio. Then of course this comes right in the center. Of course I'm going to put some around as well, just a little bit, not that much. I don't want too much glue in this. What I'm doing, I'm pressing it down. Of course I'm taking the extra one off. Just going to clean the lens and let it dry. Alright, I think it looked good. Alright, let's focus on the knobs for this radio. I need to create, a knob for this. This was the one came with the radio, but it is not the right size. You see opening? This is not what we are looking for. Since the volume control and also dial section do not use this type of opening. So I looked through all the knobs that I have, try to find something that it goes with this radio. Since this is such a beautiful radio, I want everything match. This is one of the knobs belong to one of my radio. I think this will work. And the reason I'm going to use this, because it's almost the same color, the handle, and also here the center. I think if I use this, it's going to go very well with this radio. I looked at online, I saw some knobs. Those are like 1950s or so. I can create those, but I think this is going to go much better with this radio, especially with the type of material this is. This is going to be the same thing. You see, I didn't want to use those type of knobs because this is going to go much nicer with it. It's like the same type of material, as you can tell. So let's create this. To save time in this video, I suggest pretty highly to watch the video. Here I'm going to add it up here, where I go through the detail, complete process how to duplicate a knob. Of course, you should have one knob be able to duplicate it. Depends what type of result you want to get. If you want to get the knob as shiny as the radio, you have to polish it. The same product that I use to polish the radio, I use it to polish this. You see, it is as shiny as this one. The other one that I'm going to create, it will come as shiny as this one, because I polished the one that I'm going to duplicate. Hopefully that makes sense. All right. So again, watch that video. It will show you how I create that one. You see, they're exactly same. You see that? So this goes right here. I think it's going to look just fantastic. Again, one I saw online, I wasn't that crazy about those knobs. Those knobs doesn't go with this type of beautiful radio. As I mentioned, this is a early style plastic. My understanding, they were trying to create something like Catlin radio, and it is not real plastic like the plastic that these days. This is totally different. See something between Catlin and plastic, something like that. Hopefully that makes sense. Of course, since they were very fragile, it's pretty hard to find this type of thing online, or I wasn't successful to find them. Alright, let's fabricate some screws this size. They're very, very small, very short. Some of the screws was missing from this radio, so I need to fabricate some screws like this. The reason is so small because, as you saw, this radio under the chassis is just packed with wire and parts, so you cannot use the longer screws because the screw might cut the wires or damage the part. Of course, finding something like this is pretty difficult. So what I did, I went through my toolbox. I find tons of screws that I have. So I looked through all this, try to find something is small enough, and also the thread size be exact like the thread size on that one. I find one short one, but you see it's pretty thick. It did not fit. I find other one is about this size. You see the difference, right? But the thread size are same. And then I got a tool like this and cut the extra. That is what I needed. See what I'm talking about? Even a little shorter than that. So it took some time to cut it. I made a few screws that can be used for this radio. So use a file like this. Get rid of all the sharp area. It should be very smooth when you run your finger. You cannot feel any type of sharpness. Again, the reason we are doing that, we don't want the screw when we install inside the radio, it damage part. Hopefully that makes sense. So this is working exactly the same size of this one. So I made a few of them. Now we can install the chassis back in the radio, as well as I need some for the back plate as well. Hopefully this can help you. Alright, let's finally put this thing back together. Alright, let's install those screws. There's one here and two in the bottom. They're very short screw. So I guess the next thing is to build a back missing panel for this radio because of the heat this radio going to create, so it doesn't melt anything. That's my thinking. Otherwise why they put metal back there, right? And let's fabricate a missing heat shield plate for this radio. As I mentioned earlier, the plate should be right here. It's a metal plate. I believe it's a heat shield, and has a couple of screws here, and the plate and the screws, one of the screw is missing. So first time what I did, I got a cardboard like that. I cut it to the size and made sure it's exactly fit like that. Then I used this template. Let me show you what I used. This is just regular metal. So use that template. I marked it. I already put the drill here, put the hole here for the wire goes through. I'm going to just cut here and can install it. To do this job, you need a special scissor like this. This is a metal cutter. I have this, gosh, forever when I had my paint and body shop. It cut really well, so she just cut on the line. These are pretty sharp. Be very careful with this type of thing. Okay, you see how easy it cut? Of course, I'm going to use the file and make sure it's not sharp at all. I'm going to cut here straight, then I can install it. Alright, the plate is done. It's already installed, as you can see. Next, I'm going to work in the battery holder. Used to be right here, installed right here. Let me show you. And this is a battery holder for that radio. I tried to save this, but it was pretty bad condition since the battery was corroded and was a lot of rust here. So I'm going to create something like this for this radio. This shows the battery direction. As you see, this one right here goes that way. So I'm going to create something like this. I already worked on this, removed all the rust. It was pretty rusty, and the battery corrosion, all those. I cleaned them very well. Then of course I use the glue just to protect everything. As you see, a little shiny, put all over it, because I didn't want the rust come back. Of course I could spray it with clear coats, but I really like that glue. That glue does a great job as well. I clean all this due to corrosion. A few of them was, pretty bad, but now they're clean. Here we had such a bad rust. I used that naval jelly to get rid of the rust. Then of course after that I went over it again with this glue. So I use this all over here, and I'm going to put the label here. So it's pretty interesting design. Here it holds 6 batteries, and here it holds batteries as well. And there's a couple of the battery holder here. Let me show you. Look how many different batteries you needed. You need a 6 battery here, one here, right, and another one here. So you needed all those batteries if you want to use this as a portable, radio operated with batteries. It's pretty interesting design. So let me show you what I did for the label here. I tried to create something like this with a thick paper. I create this as a template. And this template came out very nice. It fit perfect, but it's pretty white. I want to change it to a little different color of the paper. So I'm going to cut this and glue it right there. All right? Just making sure that glue is everywhere. Let's install this. Okay, that's perfect. I'm going to let it dry. I put some glue there too. I say this is a particle board, so by gluing it, you're going to also protect it. That's why you glue that side. All right, I'm going to let it dry now. And this is overnight. It's set and it's totally dry. You want to make sure it's totally dry before you add more glue in the top. The reason I'm going to add the glue in the top, I want this to be protected for a long time. Hopefully another 50 years or maybe longer than that, right? So you're just going to put one layer, that's all, one very thin layer. I'm going to make sure everywhere is covered. That's it. I'm going to let it dry. Alright, the glue is totally dried. You see, now I can rub my finger or anything. It's not going to mess it up. And it made the paper aged. So everything is glued, as you see everywhere. Even I add glue here. The reason is, we're never going to use this as a battery operated because some of the batteries are very hard to find. And so I just glue them so the rust doesn't come back. Everything is looking good, as you can tell. Now the different, this is what it was there. You see that? I mean, this is of course much better, right? So let's install this inside the radio. It's pretty simple. So this goes right here. That's the way it was. So this is screw going to hold this and also back plates to the chassis. Okay. Yeah, this will stay out like this. That's the way it was. So let me put this thing back here inside since we're not going to use the battery at all. Now I just need to add back lead and solder this. Let's take care of that. Okay, next we're going to just solder these 2 wires to the antenna and hopefully we can test the radio. I'm hoping this is done. To be honest with you, it's too much work, but hopefully in the end we want to have a good result. I'm going to add some flux to this, just a little bit, just you see what I'm doing, right? Just to add some flux. Now let's see if it's soldered better or not. I'm going to tend the wire so I can solder much better. I'm going to add some to the old solder so it'll be easier to solder this wire to it. Alright, they're both soldered. Alright, the last is put the knobs in. and then we can test it. I think the knobs came out very nice. It's as close as the shine of the radio itself. So this is how it looks like. Let's test this radio. Alright, let's start this radio. Of course, as you know, tube radio, it will take a few seconds to warm up. I put it in a sport station so YouTube doesn't kick us out.
For all things ESPN 690. Find shows, podcasts, Florida State Seminoles football, contests, and more at ESPN690.com. Jacksonville's home for ESPN Radio.
For one simple reason, the offense.
This is a football team that has outscored their opponents by 230 points this year. That's the most in the last 10 years in the NFL. They are the #1 scoring football team in the first quarter in the NFL. This is a team that is way more dominant, that has got the national attention. I think New England hangs, but Seattle's just too good.
I think he modeled very well.
ESPN Sports Center. We're going to have some NBA basketball before Super Bowl 60 today, and right here on ESPN Radio. The Celtics will host the Knicks. Coverage beginning at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio. The opening tip on ESPN Radio and ABC TV at 12:30 Eastern.
Hey, it's Evan Cohen. Coming up Monday, we'll recap everything around Super Bowl 60. Plus, it's never too early to look ahead to Super Bowl 61, which will air on ABC. It's on Sports Tonight, 2 p.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Radio. Tune in to NBA action today. The Celtics will host the Knicks. Presented by Dean. Coverage begins at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio. And the ESPN app. One person writes that.
Let me turn it down.
Actually, do cut.
This radio is just absolutely beautiful. I'm pretty happy with the end result. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video. It took about 2.5 months or so to restore this. It's time consuming, but it's worth it in the end. You know, as you see, it's just absolutely beautiful radio. I hope you enjoy this. You take care. Stay tuned for upcoming video. I'll be honest with you, it takes so much time to make these videos, editing, uploading, and make sure there's enough information that it actually makes sense, you know, if you want to follow. At this time, I want to take the opportunity and thank my subscribers with their uplifting comments. You always encourage me to upload more videos, since this is just a hobby of mine. Again, I appreciate you. Enjoy all these videos, and you all have an awesome day. Take care. If you're interested to see more videos like this, feel free to subscribe to my channel, and you will be notified when new video being uploaded. You have a great day.